Church family, guests and visitors. Thank you for joining us again for Bible study this week online and for the opportunity to be able to share the last and final in our three-part series on how to reach the unchurched. And I want to get right into it tonight and just not try to belabor the time, because I know some of these videos have been a little lengthier than most of the Wednesday night Bible studies that we've had as of recent. And so I don't want to belabor that and try to take too much of your time. But I want to go ahead and just finalize the last 3 points of what it takes to be prepared and ready to reach the unchurched. Number 7 is your outreach isn't a program. Your outreach isn't a program. Now, this was not something that I myself thought about or came up with per se, but many churches and many others who are much smarter, wiser, and have been doing this a whole lot longer than me came up with the understanding that when they did not only studies, but they ran statistics, they ran the numbers, they found that churches that have outreach programs do not benefit from those like churches that have people who are reaching out. And therein lies the difference. That's the key right there. If you have a program, there's nothing wrong with programs. There's nothing wrong with having things, obviously, within the church to give us something to do, to give us structure, to give us order to these things. So programs are good. The issue and the problem with programs is they become very methodical. They become very almost clichéic, for lack of a better word. And I apologize if that is offensive. I don't mean to be offensive, but sometimes the programs themselves just become something that we do as part of the routine, and we're so caught up in the routine that we're missing out on what it means to reach out to people. If you really take the word outreach and what it means, it's really more probably and even better placed and said to say that we're going to reach out. We're going to be there to help people. Many Christians think that having a service for unchurched people or a program that's designed around going out and trying to reach people is enough, and that'll take care of it. What they found is not only is it not enough, but really it doesn't even have the effect that most churches really desire and want. And we still continue to try, and many churches do in many ways, because there has been a measure of success. But in a study that was done a number of years ago by a noted Christian magazine, over 94% at that time, and so it had dropped just a little bit, but that's because of social media and things of this nature. But still, even with social media, even with the television, even with radio ads and programs galore in churches all over the country, well over 90% of the people in churches today have come, and they're there, and they're a part of the church because somebody reached out to them. Whether it's through an invitation to dinner, and again, that friendship began, and then as friends, they were invited to a service, or they just had that opportunity, having already have rapport and relationship built, to invite them to a service. That's how it happened. And when we're ready to truly reach the unchurched, those who have never been to church, never been a part of a church, don't really know what church or God or anything is all about, other than maybe what they've heard in the world. And no offense, that's really not what we want. That's not the depiction that we want. It's not accurate. It's just not accurate. What you hear and what you see out of Hollywood, out of New York, out of all the large cities that pump out entertainment on a mass and just unbelievable volume daily, that's not what we want to be the thermometer, if you will, the governor of how church is, or the face the church has. We want people to know that we are the church. And if they like us, I promise you, they'll like your God. I like what one writer penned many, many years ago. They will never like your God. They will never like your Jesus or fall in love with him if they first cannot like and fall in love with you as a person and a friend. And I will tell you that truer words have never been spoken. We can talk a good talk and a good game all we want, but until we get to that place that we are truly, genuinely being a friend to them and loving them and causing them to be a friend in return and love us in return, they're not going to care about what we have to say. And the program will not change that. Only a relationship, only a friendship with an individual will change that perspective and that mindset. When you have large churches or small churches, doesn't matter. You have an opportunity to reach people simply by being available. Again, for lack of a better word. If you will reach out to people, people will respond. Smaller churches may not have the ability to reach out on a larger level because they don't have as many people reaching, but you grow by reaching out to people. And that's the way you reach the unchurched. Just wanted to throw this in for a good measure. Programs, again, are not bad. And I don't want you to think that just because we're saying it's something that you don't need to necessarily have as an outreach or a program for outreach, that they're bad. It's not that. And I will tell you that no matter how many programs you have, nothing will ever be able to compete with, and certainly never replace, a one-on-one friendship and a connection made with somebody on that form and that close level. So never forget that. Number 8. I was about to go back to number 7 again. Number 8, and this one is going to be a little bit of a stinger for some of us, especially because even myself, I'm no longer in this age category and bracket, but one of the things that many writers have come up with and that they've discussed and even, again, sought counsel from many, many others and other churches across the gamut, and that is the fact that one thing that has worked for every church is having not only services, but churches that engage teenagers. I've talked with not only a lot of pastors around the area, but even around the country, and they want to reach people. They want to reach not just one type, one age, one race, one ethnicity. No, they want to reach all people. But at the same time, they have all said it's seemingly, when they've had any measure or any amount of growth, it's almost seemingly gone back to a very prominent movement, and that was growth within the youth group. And a lot of that, I will tell you, is because with young people, you get a lot of excitement, you get a lot of just fun, you get a lot of life. It's a wonderful thing. And we understand that every church has an attrition rate. And as attrition rates go, they follow a lot of different categories when we talk about attrition. Some of it is just those who have been living and loving God so long that God says it's time to come home. And so numbers are lost that way. There's also the attrition rate of those who have just simply decided they no longer want to live for God and they want to just walk away because for whatever reason, something has caused them to think that it's just too hard to live for God. And that's a very sad and a very painful place to be in if you are that person in that place. The fact of the matter is, because of these and so many other things that draw people away, every church has an attrition rate, which is simply the church shrinks and it gets smaller over time if something is not done to correct that. And the correction is by bringing new life in. And not only do you have new life and excitement and a lot of fun with teenagers, but you have a very long time to see that person grow and plant roots within the church, within the ministry, within the work of God, get involved in so many different areas and so many different aspects. And as anything else, if you get the children, typically speaking, the parents get very excited as well. If you get the children smiling and loving what they're doing and being a part of what they're doing, the parents want to know what's up, and they'll come and they'll check it out, and it just seems to work, and it seems to just follow that once you get teenagers, you get young people, they're engaged in the services, they enjoy the services, they like what they see, what they hear, and what they feel. Not only will they invite their friends, but their friends invite their friends, and before long, they all begin to bring parents, grandparents, and many other siblings and family members alike. And I will tell you, it makes a big, big difference. There's probably no other age category group of people that love to do things with others more than teenagers. And it's one of the reasons, again, if you want to see church grow and if you want to reach the unchurched, reach and have services that engage teenagers. If your household has teenagers, or at least a teenager like mine, I've got one that's 16, one that's 11, and I can tell you that there's very few things, even though he's quiet and much more reserved than I am, very few things that my teenager wants to do by himself. If he's going to an airsoft arena, he wants to go with his friends. If it's a birthday party, who wants to go to a birthday party by yourself? Even if he's playing video games online, who wants to do that by themselves? When nowadays, even from across the city or across the country, you can put on a headset, you can sit down, and you can be talking to and playing in real time with somebody on the other side of the country or globe. They all want to be involved. They want to be a part. Teenagers automatically and just are drawn instinctively, if you will, to want to be around one another. And when one gets excited about that, others follow suit. And so our goal and our task as not just church leaders, but as church members and family members of the church, our goal and our task is to create an environment that is enjoyable, that is fun, and again, very engaging to teenagers. And I will tell you that this also has a spin-off blessing and benefit, kind of a bonus, if you will, for everybody else. When you and I create that environment, even though we're doing it for younger people, automatically we enjoy it more as well. And there's something about that that's just not only beautiful, but, well, it's kind of a God thing. And I love that aspect of it. So I challenge you, look for ways, even if it's in praise and worship, if it's in greeting or saying goodbye, to open up and be engaging where young people are concerned. And not only at church, but also outside of church, because we want them to come in first and we've got to reach them first. So engage them, talk to them. You might find out that there's a lot more depth there than what you think, because sometimes we don't hear an awful lot of positive words and comments being made about today's young people and the teenagers in this society. But I will promise you, if you ever sit down and talk with them, you'll find out there is an awful lot of them that have very deep thoughts, very deep emotions and feelings, and what they feel and what they believe and what they think, they're passionate about. And all we're trying to do is just share Jesus with them, so maybe they can find passion there as well. So we want to make services and opportunities of being together engaging for teenagers, knowing that, again, that just spills over into all ages. And then last but not least, number 9, to be able to truly say that we are prepared to reach the unchurched, we have to be flexible and adaptable. Flexible and adaptable. And I think this is funny, and I have to kind of even chuckle to myself, because even as I was talking about the young people and teenagers, the entire time I'm conscious of the fact that I have more gray hair now than what I used to have, and certainly of whatever previous color my hair used to be. It's been so long ago I've almost forgotten. But I've also recognized that as I'm in my mid-40s now and getting older every day, I'm not hurting, there's no pain, and I've been blessed. And yet, the body changes. You don't get to wake up and feel as ready to go, and it's not as easy to move as it once was. That having been said, it's not just a physical thing. The older we get emotionally, the less likely we are to be as malleable, to be as flexible, to be able to adapt to whatever situation happens. And sometimes we find ourselves getting upset or even getting distraught and just wanting things to stop. I remember one time talking with an individual, and we were having a conversation, and this individual was quite a bit older than I was. And in the restaurant where we were sitting and we were talking and just going over some things and talking about church and about God, there was a very loud baby not too far away. And admittedly, that is not the prime circumstance in which you want to sit down and have a wonderful conversation or meal, and a loud baby hollering and screaming. But I watched not only the individual that I was with, but I watched the people around the restaurant. And the younger the age of the people, the less it seemed to bother them. The older the age, the more that it seemed to bother them. And I will tell you, an awful lot of that is really just a mindset. It's how we think and it's how we feel. Some people say, well, I just am what I am. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not true. We can all change. We can all be different. And just because we have reached a certain age in life does not mean that we've also attained the right to be grumpy or to be mean or to be unflexible, to not even desire, much less want or be able to adapt. And I tell you, we can all do what we want to do. Sometimes it takes a little exercise. I was speaking with somebody the other day, and this particular gentleman is, again, a number of years older than I am, a little over 70, and yet still in phenomenal health and doing great. And I asked him, I said, man, how are you feeling? He said, feeling great, feeling awesome. I was like, man, that is just terrific. That's wonderful. And he went on to let me know, well, I can tell you, I'm proud to say that because I've not always been able to say that. I said, really? He said, well, for a long time, I didn't just get out there and exercise and walk and do the things that I needed to do. And he said, when I first started, it hurt. I was sore a lot and it didn't go well. He said, but I kept at it. I kept pushing, kept driving myself. And before it was all said and done, he said, here I am, over 70 years of age. He works a full-time job, goes to work every single day, and he loves it because he's able to do it. And he feels better doing that. And I thought, what an interesting thing, and really an interesting analogy to understand that really and truly exercise is all about flexing and about using the muscles. And when we're talking about being flexible and adaptable, what we're talking about here is using what God has given us to work with whatever circumstance we're in. It's not that we can't move. It's not that we can't change. It's not that we cannot adapt. It's that most people just get to a place in their life, whether it's because of age or circumstances, that they just make up in their mind they don't want to move. They don't want to change. They don't want to adapt. And yet, if we're ever going to reach the unchurched, sometimes we just simply have to be flexible and adaptable. In the future, this was something somebody wrote that I thought was interesting. In the future, you will not arrive. I think the approach to unchurched people and the strategy behind the mission of the church needs to be flexible and adaptable. What that statement means, in the future, you will not arrive. First of all, you don't just show up someplace. You don't just pop up because it's Thursday or because it's Friday. Nobody just wakes up in church because it's Sunday morning. You don't just arrive there because it's now the future, because it's now 11 o'clock if that's your service time, or 2 o'clock as we're having right now. If you get there, if you arrive there, it's because even now, at this very moment, you're making plans, you're making arrangements, you are getting ready to go where you're going to go. In that respect, you're already working towards, you're doing things, you're using what God has given you. You're flexing, you're being adaptable, you're working schedules around things, you're working life around things, and you're making it happen. That's what it means to be adaptable, to be flexible. And in church and in outreach, we need to be the same. Understand, not everybody's going to look like us, not everybody's going to sound like us, and not everybody's going to act like us. And in some respects, well, thank God for that. That's a good thing. First of all, it's a beautiful thing. The diversity of what God has created and given is absolutely beautiful. Who would want to walk outside every single day and only be able to see the mountains? Some people say, oh, I would love that. And for them, that's great. But some people like the idea of walking out every single day and being able to see the beach. Some people like walking out of their front door every single day and being able to see a beautiful river or a nice stream going through a wooded piece of land. Other people like looking out over great lands or great flat lands and plains with grassy knolls here and there, but really just wide open spaces. There's something in this world and even in America for every single person. Every taste, every like, every dislike, doesn't matter. There's always something for everybody. That's why we have seasons that change even throughout the year. They keep things alive and vibrant because there's a time of dying off and dormancy. And it's just a cycle that goes around. Again, that's part of the diversity that God created in this world. If all of us looked like me, well, I'm so sorry. I would be, at least. But thankfully, not everybody looks like me. But thankfully, too, not everybody looks like you. We all look different. We all sound different. We all act different. And that's okay. Being flexible, being adaptable is not about trying to change that person and turn them into you. It's about loving that person for who God created them to be. Learn to be flexible. Learn to be adaptable. God never asked you and I to change anybody's heart. He takes care of that. All we have to do is love everybody. If we'll do that, the rest will take care of itself. We just got to learn to love people and be flexible and adaptable enough to even love people that aren't like us, in whatever form and fashion that means. So love one another and love everybody. And I promise you, we're going to reach an unchurched generation. And I'm excited about it. Thank you again for being here in this 3-part series. If you haven't had a chance to see the other 2, be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that's the Rock Church of Jacksonville. And you'll see not only those 2 videos, the part 1, part 2, so the prior portion of this part 3 video of Reaching the Unchurched, but we have many videos, and most of them just simply focus around having a closer walk with God, learning who Jesus is, and just strength and encouragement for our daily walk. Sometimes we need to just have a little bit of a pick-me-up, if you will. And certainly we know the best pick-me-upper in the world. His name is Jesus. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button so that way you can be notified at any point in time and any opportunity that new videos are put onto the website. And then also go to our church website, and that's therockchurch.faith. Again, the Rock Church, all one word, .faith. And you'll find not only information about our service times and the schedules that we do meet. Right now, we're still only meeting on Sundays because we are trying to practice as much social distancing as is possible. But also you'll find out about where we're located, information and ways to contact us and to get in touch. And we want to hear from you. And if you want to know more about God, I promise you, we want to share more about Him. And we look forward to it. We love each and every one of you. We're praying for you and hope to see you soon. God bless you.